Hello, everybody. Sveiki visi. We continue Agile Tour Vilnius. And in management stream, we have today special guest. We are very lucky. And we have special guest Angelo. Angelo is Agile expert, coach, very smart person. We hope Angelo will introduce herself more in details. Before we start, we asking all our participants to join our conversation, to be active, giving a question, and also leave feedback after the presentation. Okay, Mr. Angelo, please start now.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Lava Diena. I'm not going to introduce much about myself because I've been already several years in this conference, and we have a lot of things to talk about, and I'd like to get the best possible usage of this time. But I need to ask you for a favor, if possible. You know, like in this new situation, it's so cold when you have to speak in conference and all that. You don't have the people, you don't have the warmth of the people. I don't see if this really what I'm saying resonates with you or not. So can you give me do me a favor and just turn your camera on if you can, so I can see your faces. I know there is some humans below these names. So if you can turn your camera on. All right. I really appreciate it. Hey, Petras. Have good friends here. All right. Well, we have some people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for turning your camera on. Let me share my screen. Okay, let's see if this works as I expect. What happened here? Okay. It will take me a minute. I have to download before presenting. Okay. It's not exactly what I wanted. Okay, good. And this, okay. Can you confirm that you see my screen, please? Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yes, we can see.
Perfect. So then we can start. So this is about business resilience. Right? This is what is this talk about. We're going to learn about framework and some ideas they have about how to cultivate business resilience. And before that, let's discuss it. I'd like to share with you some interesting facts about resilience. So let's talk first about what is resilience. And what is the definition? how can we define resilience? So resilience is defined as the ability to adapt to a disturbing agent on an adverse state of situation. Resilience in general, when you talk about any kind of resilience. And there are a couple of studies, particularly this one here from the Association of Psychological Science, that let us know more about resilience. Yeah, this is just related to people, just one person, how resilience is present in us as people. But I think this is interesting so that we can abstract what does it mean when it comes to organization. So in this study, these scientists from the US, they realized that particularly tough events like surviving hurricane, cancer, being assaulted, etc., can harm us psychologically. But middle problems, so the small difficulties, actually help people develop ability to cope with problems, and to cope with periods of emotional pain and trauma. So, and this is actually very interesting because we need difficulties to learn. Yeah, we need difficulties to learn. But is that different from trauma? Trauma can break. Yeah, is it similar like with muscle development? Yeah, muscle development work like that. You go to the gym and actually you break fibers, but if you really break them too much, you can actually destroy the muscle and have a bigger problem. So with that, we learned that difficulties might be helpful. Traumas are not helpful. Another interesting study from this same university is this one. So they did some research and they realized that people who have suffered many traumatic events in their life generally live more distress. And people who had not experienced any negative events at all had the similar problems. So they are in the same distress. But on the contrary, individuals who felt better were those that experienced some negative facts. So some negativity is helpful. Again, trauma can be very dangerous. The last one, this study is also very interesting. They performed a study that I will be sharing in the chat later on, because this is also another scientific research. People with chronic pain were able to recover from serious adversity, while individuals who had suffered many or no adversity were more affected. So the same when it comes to recovery, and when it comes to accepting very big problems such as cancer or a strong illness, people who suffer pain already were more resilient. Yeah. So to me, this is interesting because we can maybe take advantage of this. So people who had difficult experience can develop the ability to cope with difficult situation. And in addition, these people can learn to rely on social media, on social networks, and take advantage of that when needed. So they are more resourceful. They are more resourceful. So the first thing I need you guys to understand is the difference between difficulties and trauma. Yeah, because we are now through a very special situation, as you know, right, with this COVID. For some people with difficulties, and some difficulties can help learning and improving. From some people can be trauma. So maybe the effects can be devastated. So the question is, how can we prepare ourselves and how can we prepare organizations so these situations that are negative for our business, yes, are difficulties, turn into difficulties, but no, they don't become a trauma. This is why we're here. Yeah, we want you in the organization to be able to learn and actually recover even stronger after something bad happened, after something that potentially can destroy the business happen. And we want to avoid the business to be destroyed to this situation. So this talk is about how to get ready for that. Yeah. So if we understood that a crisis are always a learning opportunity, a trauma No, not necessarily. Why to wait, right? The idea is to create your own crisis, simulate it, and learn from the experience, so you can prevent a trauma. You know, this is the idea that I'm presenting you here in this talk. The question is, can we take advantage of this type of learning in organizations? Can we do the same thing with organization? Can we use the same concept? Well, I believe yes. I believe this is possible. We need to do some abstraction, but we can understand an organization abstracted as an individual, and it will work in a very similar way in this case. So what is business resilience? How are we going to define business resilience? We're going to define the business resilience as the ability to rapidly adapt and respond to business disruptions, safeguard people and assets while maintaining continuous business operations. So we want the business to still keep on doing business even after something that happens, even after a threat that can potentially destroy the business. This is what we want. We want to avoid this trauma that's destroyed the business, but instead moving forward after this unexpected crisis. So that's why I believe that business resilience must be a key factor in the organizational strategy. If organizations are not ready to overcome unexpected situations that can potentially destroy their business, they are weak businesses. And weak businesses are a very bad investment. And this is something that we don't want. We want our companies to be a safe investment. So for that, the first thing that we need is a new mindset. I would say even a new frame of reference when we go to work. Yeah, we all understand that in Agile, we have a very important mindset shift, which is going from tell me what to do and I'm here to complete a task, to another mindset, another frame of reference, which is I'm here to complete a product. I will find a way to build the product the customer wants. This mindset is critical to make Agile happening. So here we have a similar thing happening. We need a new mindset, which is your responsibility as an employee is not to do what they tell you to do. It's not even to build a product. It's to do everything that is possible, everything that is in your hands, so that the business is sustained over time. So we want the business to be sustained over time. This is the ultimate purpose of any business. Not even making money, but be sustained. That's why you need the money. You need the money to sustain the business. Yeah. So this is why it's so important to talk about resilience. And this is why it's so important to understand that agility is necessary. Agility is very important. So being able to change direction when the customer and the market change opinion on or direction, this is necessary, super important, but not enough sometimes. And we are now experiencing one of those times in which is not enough. Agility sometimes is not enough. We have new threats. We have new threats. There are some companies that thought that their business were very safe. Nokia, for example. There are some industries that we thought we knew how they work. For example, hotels. And then somebody comes, somebody like Airbnb, somebody like Apple with the iPhone, and change the rules of the game. And this is something that many years ago happened not very often. Yeah, but this is something that with the time is happening every time more often. So every time is easier to create a company. Every time is easier to create a new kind of business. Every time is easier to disrupt the market. This is why we have a lot of new threats. Marginal cost tend to zero. Building a new product is sometimes almost for free. It's so easy, so cheap, so fast. So there are much more threats out there. And this is where resilience is becoming now more important for business. Not only that, also threats have a bigger impact. It's so easy to move from one side to another of this planet does this pandemic, for example, that we are living, spread so fast? Because it's very cheap and easy to travel. Yeah. Most probably, if this happened 1,000 years ago, it wouldn't be so fast to spread it. So impact is bigger. Global impact is bigger. And as it happened with the pandemic, it's also happened with the business. Being able to reach the whole world with your product or with your business model is every time easier. Impacts are bigger. So again, second reason why resilience is extremely important for your business. The frequent disruptive changes, someone that comes and completely changes the rules of your game and the rules of the domain of your business, is something that will happen every time more often. Is the new normal. Now, we soon won't be surprised when we have a fintech or insurtech or transportation, a new transportation model, self-driving cars that takes the Uber market, so on and so forth. So those things are there in the front door in your business, waiting for you to be distracted and completely change the rules of the game and potentially destroying your business and your business model. So then how to build this? Well, actually we need to start from the foundations. We all know that agility, so being able to change direction, that doesn't make any sense if you're not efficient in your way of changing direction. Otherwise, it will be very costly by definition to change direction, or very wasteful. So before, we need to focus on reducing waste before focusing on changing direction. And of course, you don't want to be very good at delivering a product that it doesn't work. So efficiency stays on top of quality and process and product quality standardization. Yeah. So quality is in the foundations. But now we put a lot of effort on quality. We put a lot of effort on efficiency with lean, and we put a lot of effort on agility, of being able to change direction. Now is the moment to put a lot of effort on resilience. So that would be like the Uber agility. Yeah, being able to change direction, but not only when you decide to change direction, but when the market forces you to change directions, otherwise you are going to disappear. Is resilience the way to be able to not disappear? And it stays on top of agility. If agility is not present, forget about resilience. If you're not able to change direction, when you choose to change direction, you won't be able to change direction when you don't choose and something really bad happens. You need to be ready before. So that means it's a new purpose. It's a new ability that we wanted the organization. We wanted Agile. We were working on that for many years. Now is the moment to work in something new. And I want to share with you, what am I doing about it? So what is this framework? Because I know people love frameworks. We all love frameworks. And this is how I approach this building the resilience ability in organizations. So the process is like this. It's in general very simple. So we prepare, we get ready for a simulation, we perform the simulation, and then we gather learning. And this is a process that we do every half a year, for example. So you do the simulation because it's the way in which you prepare for crisis and for emergencies. You do it for fire, for example, or earthquake, or for IT disaster recovery. You do that. You turn your servers off and see what happened. So the same we're doing with the whole business. So we can't do it too often because it can become traumatic. It can become too costly, but we do it at least twice per year. Yeah, we do a simulation. So what kind of simulation? We're going to simulate the scenarios that can potentially destroy the business. So how does it work more in detail? Well, this is actually the same concept, but a little bit more in detail. Yeah. So we start by defining the focus, defining the area that you want to put in danger. You choose what are the context factors in the market? So what is out there right now? And then you include what are the external forces that can affect that area or that business. Identify the critical uncertainties. So what are the things that we don't know if they're going to happen or how they're going to happen and can potentially lead to a threat? And we choose one scenario. It's very important that we understand that we choose one scenario. That doesn't mean that we're going to predict the future and that scenario is going to happen. Of course, it's not. But any scenario that you try, it will give you some ability, which is what you want. You want to try so you get some ability. You get some new processes, new practices, new structures, new connections, new understanding about your business. So what you're going to use is the learning. Yeah. So don't be afraid of not being able to actually predict the scenario that is going to be real afterwards. Just choose something that is more plausible. I'm going to explain now how can we do that, which is actually just a scenario planning. Then we're going to define what are the implications. So what does it mean for our business if that scenario actually happens? And turn that into stories that will describe that scenario and numeric indicators of the impact of those. Then we're going to perform the simulation and integrate the learning. So how does crisis simulation work? First, we have a scenario team. For a metaphor, we're going to call them the WASPs, for example. We put this team name. So this team are going to first do a scenario design. As we described before, we define the unit in which we're going to work and what is the context of that unit, what happens in the market right now connected to that unit. And then we do a driving forces analysis. Maybe you're familiar, what I did there is a pestle analysis. We define the political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental forces that are present and might affect our business. And then we choose two critical uncertainties. So the two that can actually impact more our business. So imagine, for example, that we are a car manufacturing company. And in that case, we choose that the biggest uncertainties for us is if people are going to go into car sharing or they are going to buy more cars and be into car ownership. We don't know what is going to happen in the future. And about self-driving cars, are they going to be finally legal or not? We have the technology. We know the technology is present, but we're not sure if actually it's going to be allowed. So we put these two forces that we chose to describe some possible scenarios. So for example, in this case, we put in one axis, human driving is the preferred option and self-driving is the preferred options. Or in the other axis, we put car ownership will be the preferred option in the market, or car sharing will be the preferred option in the market. And then in these four quadrants, we create four possible scenarios. So for example, if people in general decide to own a car that is self-driving, that would be called, we're going to call it the Tesla scenario. Tesla already have very nice cars that are prepared to be self-drive. So that will be a very nice scenario for Tesla, for example. On the contrary, if people tend to own the car, they prefer to own cars, but human driving, people enjoy driving, we're going to call that the e-tron scenario. Yeah, that has to do with all the lines of cars, like premium cars, very nice. People would try to find a premium car, but also like to enjoy driving. So that's the name, just the name of this scenario. On the other axis, we have the case in which people that prefer car sharing, and drive themselves. This is like the CTV, you all know that. I would call that a CTV scenario. That's a very happy scenario for car sharing companies. And another possible scenario would be that people prefer car sharing, but via self-driving. So the car comes, the car takes you wherever you want to go. So this is actually a project that Uber is working on, this self-driving Uber scenario. So we have possible scenarios there, and we have to choose the one that actually is more plausible. Yeah, is more possible to happen. And let's say, for example, we define that one. That's our target. We're going to try what happened in case we're a car manufacturing company where we're going to try what is the impact for our business. What happens if actually people prefer car sharing and self-driving cars? The next step is to discover the implications. Okay, so what is the impact in our business? So we need to brainstorm and gather data about what is the operational impact in our business, what is the financial impact in our business, what is the reputational, so how does it change our relationship with the customers, and what's the human, so how does it change the relationship within our employees. This is to create a scenario that is as much real as possible. We understand what will be the whole impact in the business. This actually, this whole process is an activity that takes quite a bit of time. It should be performed through several months by this scenario team that we define first. It's like this team was preparing an escape room for another team that will try to escape when we do the simulation. But it's very important that we prepare a very good scenario so it looks real and people get involved. Then it comes to the recovery. It comes to the actual simulation of this scenario. We're going to call that other team the recovery team. The recovery team is bigger and it will work for one day in something similar like a hackathon. It will be just simply like a hackathon. Maybe many of you are familiar with what a hackathon is. And the idea of this particular hackathon is to overcome that scenario, that specific scenario. So basically what happened in the hackathon is the scenario is shared, is understand, is the scenario share. And then the group is going to create teams. So this is, we're going to call it swarm. It's going to create alternative structures from inside and the outside of the organization. In my experience, it's very interesting if this happens not only within the organization, but it's the moment to call another colleagues, to call another companies, to call another friends that maybe can provide us interesting input, to call on other businesses from other domains that can provide us good input to overcome this scenario. Then we need to observe, so gather even more information about what is happening once this scenario becomes real. Gather some ideas about how to solve this problem. Create a prototype of the solution, and then validate it. So at the end of the hackathon, we're going to show the solution, possible solution, and vote them. Not only vote them, I would even send rank them to see which one becomes a more important learning. So we can gather that learning, and maybe that would be part of our business continuity plan later on. So even if it's not possible to predict the future, because it's not possible, I'm sure we can learn from living future scenarios. And this is what we want. We want the team to live this future scenario that can potentially destroy the business. So what are the outcomes of this kind of dynamic? First, identifying patterns and good practices that should and can be implemented in a business improvement continuity plan. Yeah. All companies have continuity plan. Not all of them, they actually try them with scenarios that can potentially destroy the business. So yes, this learning should be incorporated to the business continuity plan. Second learning opportunity, we have to identify innovation opportunities after this dynamic. Why? Well, we learned before that when we are under a threat, we become very creative. And actually, most probably, most of you are already in that situation, that this new pandemic forced you to find new ways for your business to move forward. So threats sparkle innovation. Traumas, no. So this might be a great opportunity for you to identify innovation opportunities, and maybe you can become that disruptive changes in the market. And most importantly, you will learn how to swarm. You will learn how to connect to other organizations, how to create new cross-department, cross-functional, and even cross-business structures that would lead you to a new perspective and most probably to innovative products. So we're here talking about the structures. The structures is one of the main elements, most important elements that we're going to uncover when performing this simulation. In any crisis, staying alone doesn't help. Trying to find help out or help each other is something that we're right now experiencing is a good idea. The bigger our networks, the more resilient we are. So by definition, forcing the organization to swarm and not staying alone when crisis. So maybe this car company can also connect with insurance companies, or can connect with banks, or can connect with retailers, or can connect to any other kind of business, so that they can benefit from those relationships. And this is a great way to start doing it. Creating cross-functional, cross-department, and cross-organization crisis recovery teams builds resilience by definition. You become more resourceful. Building, therefore, interdepartment and interorganization community make your business also more responsive to changes in the market. You have more perspectives. Another important element is that you will learn how to diversify. So this is scenario planning that I was showing you first. Even if you don't perform the simulation, it will give you an idea if you're actually putting all your eggs in the same nest. Most probably it's not a good idea. Yeah? Most probably you need to diversify. And the more unstable the market becomes, the more diversification you need. And you already seen this. So how big companies such as Amazon or Google, they become a network of interrelated business, like small companies. And it's a network of small businesses that do a lot of things. Why? Diversification. Diversification. We have Amazon Photos, we have Amazon for buying products, Amazon for doing groceries, Amazon now for buying furniture for home. We have Amazon TV. Yeah. Why do they do that? They become more resilient. They diversify the business. If you are an investor yourself, for sure, I'm sure you are diversifying your investment. So if your business is your investment, you should also diversify it and understand your business as a network, as a farm of small businesses. Therefore, if one disappears, if something really bad happened and one small piece of your business disappears, it's okay. You still can move on. You still can move forward. About the culture. So what is the global mindset, the system mindset that you need to cultivate in order to keep resilience as an important element of your business. So those are some of the values that are important. So remember that now we are there not only to do what they tell us to do, we are there to do whatever is in your hands to sustain the business in time. That means being open to collaborate inside and outside the organization, accept other opinions, and accept also difficult situations. Being optimistic, not naive, but optimistic, and understanding that you have the resources to overcome unexpected crisis. Think long term, and this is very interesting. Several customers of mine, when I proposed them to do it, they were like, yeah, sounds very nice, but you know what? When it happens, we will figure out what to do. Well, actually, it's never a good moment to buy insurance. Only when you have an accident. When you have an accident, then you remember that it would have been a great idea to buy insurance. So that's why long-term thinking and scenario thinking is very important. Be solution focused, not problem focused, but instead try to find a resource to solve the problem right now. Sense of belonging, creating identity. A leader, to create resilience, needs to create a sense of belonging. It's important to be part of this company. We say when the boat is sinking, the rats are the first jumping out of the boat. You know? And actually, by performing these simulations, you will very quickly see who is open to do whatever is needed to help the business and who is just there waiting to be told what to do and to work from 7 to 4 or from 8 to 5. And after that, I don't really care much. So the leader will be able to understand that and will be able to build an identity, system identity where belonging and the purpose is very important. We know why we're there and we want to sustain the business in time. And that means we can say share responsibility, but not only share responsibility, also self-ownership. So we actually together own the business. Yeah, I might not be one of the shareholders of this business, but still being part of this business has an impact in my life. So this understanding of the business as part of your life is critical for people to be involved where things go south, when we are in a difficult situation. So leaders should cultivate that responsibility. And of course, the sense of trust. Trust is always very important, but not naive trust. Not trust because you should trust everyone. Everyone is good, should smile to everyone. But instead trust because we deliver on promise. We are able to create promises and we promise that we will do our best to help the business when things go south, and we demonstrate through actions. This is how we cultivate trust. We cultivate trust through experience, through actions, through demonstrating that we complete our promises. So this right column is what the leader should cultivate in the organization so that resilience is made possible. Again, I believe that business resilience must be a key factor in the organizational strategy for every employee, for every manager, and also for sure for every shareholders. If you have your shares in a company, you want that business to be safe, to be stable, to be resilient, to be reliable. And threats are every time more and more present. So this element, business resilience, is even a key factor for any investor in any business. We should not overlook it. On top of that, we know crises are always a learning opportunity, not traumas. So why to wait? I would suggest you to reflect on something. How would you confront this COVID situation if you had simulated any other health problem happening in your company, or any other political problem happening in your company, or a big online impact in your business model. So reflect on that. How simulating some dangerous scenarios for your business would have impacted your life now and your business now that you actually are going through a global crisis. And that's all from my side. Any questions, any doubts?
Thank you for presentation. We are waiting for questions. As I understood, I listened very all presentation. As understood, we are talking about possibility to adapt external circumstances to internal situation in the company.
Yeah.
It is the best way to turn the risk into opportunities.
Yeah.
And also the managers, the teams, the management team should always share and observe the situation in market and to try to adapt, to find the best solutions to their situation in the company. Now my questions. What tendencies do you observe in global world now? And what the main lesson learned from the situation, from COVID situation?
The main lesson learned? Well, actually, I think that depends entirely of the type of business. I can tell you my lesson learned. Yeah, for example, in my business, I understood that I was not investing enough in online marketing. Yeah, I understood that I do a lot of training, so training should be a blend of online and in person. I was doing only in person, but online has a pros and cons, so a combination is good. I also understood that I should be more present in social media. So, but I think it depends on each business. Yeah, but for sure, something that I believe most business are understanding now is that they should have been more ready. So not only business, even countries, right? We should have been more ready. We are not ready. We were distracted. We should be more ready.
Do you think is first you begin from the acceptable level of stress? That stress is sometimes is good because the people, the companies are using to some situations and thinking about more concentrate. Do you think now situation is still possible to receive more, to adopt more level of stress, or is enough?
So the thing is, well, I started the talk by differentiating what is a trauma and what is a difficult experience, right? So for some businesses, this has been a trauma, and it's too late to be ready. It's too late. You are already there. So, and for some business, no, they are not going to learn from this. They're going to be destroyed. Yeah. From other business that were more ready or were less impacted, it will be a difficult situation, and that will help them become overcoming it with new resources. Yeah, that's, for example, my case. In my business, I created new products, new more online products due to this situation. So yes, it was stressful, yeah, but it put me in a position that made me to become more innovative and think differently and help me. I will go through this crisis stronger. At least it looks like that. But if it becomes even stronger, if it's become a trauma for my business, so too strong, of course my business can be destroyed. Yeah. So we should understand the difference and try to get ready before the crisis happens. Now it's too late. Now just do what you can do. The ability that you cultivate so far is the ability you have. Yeah. How to say? It's like imagine that Imagine that you have to escape from someone that is running and wants to catch you, right? Of course, if you were ready, if you were doing your workout or on being a faster runner, yeah, it would have helped. But when the person is chasing you, it's too late. So you now there, you do the best usage of your abilities you have. Because that's why we're here. So I believe that business should not allow this to happen again. So they should prepare. They should simulate. Yeah. It's the same with a fire. If you have a fire in your company and people don't know where the exits are, and then you have a lot of injured people, it's too late. You have a fire. But after that, please start simulating and putting signs so people know where the exits are. So if it's happening again, people won't die. So
Well,
that's the point.
We should train and to use the best practice, to adapt the best practice and train again to be prepared for new situations or new possibilities.
Yeah, simulate. So that's the whole point. We simulate in many aspects, but we don't simulate what will happen if something can actually destroy our business.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for sharing your experience. It was very interesting. I believe we will survive together.
Sure.
And thank you for your nice practice sharing.
My pleasure.
Okay, please remember all. I should tell all participants have possibility to leave your feedback. Please follow the number.
No question for the audience. I expected a lot of
maybe some. Yes, we didn't receive any questions. Maybe later comes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.